Video game players have improved decision-making abilities and enhanced brain activities.
A Resorcher summary.
Video game playing is a popular activity that provides a stimulating environment for the mind and the senses that can help people who do it often. No one knows yet how exactly they change our brains to give us these cognitive benefits. In a functional magnetic resonance imaging fMRI study, we looked at how video game players, VGP, and people who don't play video games, NVGP, behaved and thought while making decisions. When it came to behavioral response, VGP were faster overall by about 190 milliseconds and more accurate by 2%. We found that video gamers had more task-related signal changes in the right lingual gyrus, right supplementary motor area SMA, and left thalamus, which is linked to better behavioral response. More functional network activity was also sent to the right SMA and the left thalamus. All of the participants' regional signal changes and network activities were found to have a negative relationship with their decision response time. This means that the more nodes and network activities there are, the better the performance. These results give us new information about how playing video games makes people better at making decisions that involve both their senses and their bodies. In goal-directed tasks that we do every day, the authors focus on the important parts of the sensory information we get from the outside world and use them to turn into motor actions. At each stage of processing in the brain, these changes deal with different ways to answer questions about what, where, when, and how. This is part of the decision-making process, which involves putting together information from different parts of the brain, such as sensation, perception, and action. This is done by a large-scale network of many brain regions. For many of these perceptual and sensory motor decisions, you need to act quickly and accurately. Little is known about how and if fun, cognitively and perceptually stimulating activities like playing video games change the brain and how people act when making decisions. Changes that are good because of these kinds of activities have implications for cognitive training. For the effect to be considered an improvement, it would need to improve accuracy or decrease response time without the usual trade-off between speed and accuracy. Since playing video games often requires making decisions quickly and accurately over and over again, decision-making tasks are a good way to look into the effects of playing video games. Playing video games has been shown to improve working memory, help people pay more attention, improve spatial awareness, and make it easier to switch between tasks. It has also been shown that these effects can be taught to people who don't already play video games. Even though these studies show that playing video games can help with some tasks and that playing video games can be used to train a person to do better, playing video games has also been linked to bad things. When people play video games too much, their behavior can change in ways that are similar to those of people with other addictions. For example, they may be unable to stop playing video games or fully participate in everyday activities. According to the author, if you play video games in moderation, they can be good for you. We still don't fully understand how these positive effects on decision-making work in the brain. Understanding how playing video games changes the brain and behavior, as well as the relationship between the brain and behavior, is also important for learning how other challenging things in daily life affect decision-making. What could a person do on a regular basis to help them make better decisions? How does this change happen in the brain to make these new skills possible? Studies that use brain imaging to look at video game players' VGP have looked at much less. About half of the studies have only looked at how playing video games is linked to violence. The other half are mostly resting state studies of VGP in video game environments using pictures or looking at how gaming can be addictive. The main focus of these studies has been on the brain, functional connectivity at rest, and voxel-based morphometry. Even though the authors of these studies have looked at neural differences between VGP and non-video game players and VGP, they have not looked at how networks interact during decision-making tasks. In this study, the authors used functional magnetic resonance imaging fMRI to compare the brain and behavior responses of VGP and NVGP to see how playing video games affects sensory motor decision-making. The authors looked at whether playing video games makes it easier to make decisions and, if it does, how it changes how the brain's regions and networks work. The authors wanted to find out more about how video games affect the brain and how the brain and behavior are connected. The authors thought that VGP would have better task performance and that VGP would have more sensory motor node and network activity than NVGP because of the interactive, sensory-rich environment of video games and the types of sensory motor tasks used.